chat first. Why did we see this pump today? Well, let me show you this screen real quick. You guys have been in my channel. You can see this is the CME FedWatch tool. Basically gives us an idea of what's going on with the Federal Reserve, what their projections are in terms of the upcoming rate cuts. And what do you see? Well, on the left side over here, this is our expectation of a 25-point cut. And last week, it dropped as low as, I think 40% was the lowest that I remember. As a result, we saw a big sell-off because the markets are expecting a bit of a, or they're expecting that cut. Sorry, I'm trying to drop this invite to everybody. But we were expecting that cut. Then all of a sudden, suddenly bearishness came into the markets because of that, unexpected change in these rates. Okay, or unexpected fact that we wouldn't cut anything. Then this week, we've had a couple of the members of the Fed announce that they actually now possibly want a 50 basis cut, which has now made this 40% balloon up to, it was 75%, now it's at about 80%. So as we get closer and closer to this December 10th is when this meeting is supposed to be. All right. We should understand that if this basically floods right into 100% or 99% chance that we're going to cut it, then we should see the markets rally a bit. 25 is kind of the safest bet right now. We don't want 50 realistically, because 50 increases the chance and is very likely the chance that we will end up with a lot of inflation that will actually cause the Federal Reserve to have to end up raising interest rates eventually. So that's where we're at right now. 25 is kind of standard. But if we do end up seeing that the probabilities of this dropping to 325 to 350, if that starts to show up and appear on here, that's kind of a cause for concern. Now, you might ask me, okay, Eric, well, if we end up with a bigger rate cut, isn't that bullish for markets? And while it is in terms of the fact that, yes, asset prices will probably go up, it's not good because then it brings in the fear of the fact that we might be doing a little bit too much. Another part of that is that if we're cutting that much, a lot of times if we see a 50 basis drop, it generally signifies to economists that there's something wrong with our economy. There's something wrong with the system. We still do have a lot of risk when it comes down to the banks. We're still seeing some regional banks with issues, especially due to the fact that commercial real estate is struggling. And at the end of the day, there's a lot of unrealized gains on their balance sheets that something needs to be done with. Then you can also understand that the trade war, there seems to be a little bit more certainty coming with it. There is President Trump did say something about how he's meeting with President Xi in April, and that there should be supposedly later this week there should be some sort of agreement, some sort of trade agreement signed. So we'll see how that turns out. I think November 27th was the date that I saw for that. And overall, the markets have reacted really, really favorably to all this. I hate how Discord did this. Okay, give me 1 sec. I have to change the screen I share now. Basically what I drew was off by a little bit. Obviously, we bounced higher than I had expected and sold right off. That was all due to NVIDIA. But we came down to where I had drawn our previous support. That's 650. We basically hit on that. All right, so 650, bounced up from there. Obviously, the chop up from where I drew went higher and chopped a little bit. 664 was where we rallied to before we came back down. But this is already played out here. The thing I see right now is we're still in this pattern, this little channel. Now that we're back up toward the highs of it, we should probably see a bit more resistance. I would expect that 671 we'll start to see a little bit more resistance. And then if we can get up to about 675 and break up above that, we should definitely come up toward that 680 range. So let's go ahead and update this for you guys. So as of right now, we have some resistance. I do think we could come back down toward this range before we come up higher. I don't think we're going to go straight up. I think we're going to come back down a little bit. Maybe right where we're at shows that, right? And then we can head up toward that range a little bit later, but feel that we're going to create a range this week. Somewhere around here. Somewhere between these two nodes right here. There is a possibility we get up to 680. Some sort of news has got to hit that pushes us up to that level, though. In other news, Michael Burry has launched a Substack, which now is, I believe, has I think it's like $39 a month, and he already has 7,000 or 8,000 subscribers. So his Substack is making him like 400K a month as of right now. I guess that's the direction he decided to go. Instead of being a registered entity that trades and handles other people's funds, he's closed that up, and now he's just going to be, he's got a blog, and I mean, good for him. I mean, making that much money off of just sharing his ideas, a lot of people call him a broken clock that's right twice a day. He's called 50 of the last two recessions or 50 of the last two market crashes. But that's kind of what happens as if you're a bear, that's kind of what it is. There's oftentimes there's going to be more bull market rallies and recoveries than you can count. So, it's tough being a bear out there, but there still are a lot of systematic and systemic type of issues in terms of what's going on in our markets. But again, markets can continue to be irrational for longer than you can stay solvent. So we'll see how that plays out. We are in this uptrend now. We'll see what happens if we do break it and if we do continue to go up higher. Also, Bitcoin, I drew this out on a bigger time frame, but Bitcoin's done basically what I said it was going to do. It was going to come down toward this 80,000. Didn't quite hit 80K exactly, but it tipped on down here, rallied back up out of this range that we have so far. So we'll see what happens with it. There's a lot of people calling. I saw this thing of how JP Morgan is actually short on Bitcoin. And ultimately, if they basically want MicroStrategy to go down. Right? If MicroStrategy goes down, JP Morgan probably will make a bunch of money on it. So interesting to see. We'll see how that pans out, though. We do have some decent resistance at about 90K. So we'll see how that plays out from there. Still got to let the news kind of develop for this week. But what I would say is we probably chop around in this area for a little bit and maybe start to broaden this. I think we come back up, test a little bit higher, but then eventually I still think Bitcoin has some room to fall. There's a thing that showed how the cycle for Bitcoin actually shows that the bottom for Bitcoin might not be till next year's November. So not this Thanksgiving, but next Thanksgiving, we could probably see a bottom. We'll definitely stay on top of that if that is the case. Next Thanksgiving is when you got to tell everybody to go buy Bitcoin. Let's go into STAX real quick. Some things that we noticed for today. Number one, I always go and check the flow scanner, see what's going on. Fairly bearish when it comes down to IWM and SPY, but I will say compared to the last few times where we dropped heavily, these puts were very, especially on Monday, were very much in the hundreds of millions of dollars. So, there's still an expectation that we could still see some red but it's not nearly as bad as what it was the last few weeks. Google got some flow. We actually got GOOG earlier today, and we just saw AMD come in. Actually, cool. So we do have a few STAX AI prints that just came in. And keep in mind this FBTC as well. This is Fidelity's Bitcoin ETF. They came in, but they're aiming for 2028. So they have a lot of time for that one. But Google and AMD potentially seeing some more rallies to come. So seeing Google here, 52 mil to the 6 mil inputs. NVIDIA kind of even, 13 to 11. QQQ, 3 times as many calls than puts, but still, when you see QQQ, SPY, and IWM, I like to see them well over 50 to 70 million dollars before I would use that to gauge direction. Tesla bullish, GLD 17 mil to 0. Remember what I told you guys about gold, right? When you see them flooding the gold, that generally shows a sign of them looking for a flight to safety. They're trying to find a way to protect themselves with, with gold. Broadcom showing some bearishness. Silver as well is where you see another flight to safety. Not, gold is definitely going to be more volatile. Silver tends to be a slow mover, but can still be very profitable if you're willing to take the time with it. Amazon, Meta. So you are starting to see some money flood back in, but I will still say, like, for a Monday, I'm guessing just because it is a short week with Thanksgiving. Keep in mind, no markets are closed Thursday, and on Friday, they're only open till 1 p.m. on Eastern time. So that means 10 o'clock for us on the Western front. So very short day on Friday. I will say too, expect that we probably on Tuesday or Wednesday, we'll probably see some selling. Okay. A lot of times when you have bigger 3-day weekends, and you can consider the holiday weekends that have multiple days off. I generally find that we will end up right before those hit, either if it's a Friday, if we're going into a long weekend, you usually see Thursday, Friday as a little bit more bearish, just because people are going to try to unload some of their positions before they go into the weekend. All right. All right. Let's go into this. Oh, another thing real quick. WaveX today. SPY started bearish, and then you saw a little bit of a cross of some calls come in, but it's actually they're both down in the negative right now. So a lot of stuff's been sold off. When you see a lot of this type of selling off, you have to consider it as calls and puts put some pressure onto the markets. When you end up selling them off, it kind of relieves that pressure, and the markets go to where they, where the least resistance happens to be. And so the markets want it up, especially with the news with today. Markets are back up at about 670 or so. I didn't see too much unusual. 7, yes, dude, 6-7. My middle schoolers that I coach, I purposely, when we run, I have them run 5-on-5, and I purposely make sure I say 7-6 instead of 6-7, because the entire team will stop and do this with their hands for 6-7. These kids nowadays have to learn their language every single season. This is the interesting one that came in that I noticed today. PACB, PACB. I posted this in my channel. I think it's got some potential. Pacific Biosciences. But you really have to, like, we have a very big run up right now. So went from $1.50, it's up $1 so far over the course of the last few days. Right, last week it's up 65%. But if I zoom out, look at this. Number one, you guys know market cycles. Okay, market cycles. We've seen this. Let me copy this over from Peloton. All right. So huge run up, came back down, little drop right here, came further down, way down, all the way below. But I will point out that the volume is growing on this one. So this is something where I would say, drop 1,000 shares of these into your long-term portfolio. I would not be surprised to see this end up at $5-6 pretty quick. Something's going on with it because you do not see this type of unusual activity. I definitely would love to see more, of course, but this unusual $3 call for March, 20% move from where it's at right now. So just something that came across my radar earlier today. I don't like this Discord update. I gotta switch the stream instead of just clicking it over. Okay. What else? Now, the question right now is, do we start to see some recovery, especially as we go to the end of the month? December 1st was the original projection of where we stop our quantitative tightening and we start to see some money, the money printers potentially being turned back on. Does that end up becoming the catalyst that moves us higher? That's the big question right now. So, the two STAX AI prints that came in could be well positioned for that after these last few drops that we saw. AMD's come back down to this gap. Google still going higher, dude, by the way. Max had a position where they got in for like $500 each, and I think it's at 4.5K right now. So Google's gone up higher. Apple attacking these all-time highs. So I think that's a good possibility in this next week or two. Probably going through December, I wouldn't be surprised to see Apple up above this 280 mark. All-time highs for Apple. So remember, if we do end up seeing a 50-point cut, it still is bullish for equities, but it does cause problems underlying that eventually could lead to money being taken out of the market. So I don't want to see a 50 basis point rate hike or rate cut, but if it does happen, I do think we see a blow off top on a lot of these, and then we come back down just as hard. Yeah, Apple I think should be headed up higher. Apple cutting jobs. Right. Cutting jobs means that their bottom line is going to be better. That's just what happens with these corporations. It's kind of it's the evil side of corporations is all they care about is how much money they're going to make at the end of the day. And in this situation, cutting jobs, people losing the ability to put money on their table, actually leads into higher profits for these companies. Go ahead, drop anything you guys want me to go over, by the way. Dollar index, like we said, right at about 100 now, back and forth. We'll see if it does break up higher, we can see markets come right back down. But as of right now, it looks like it's starting to slow down. So I think maybe into the end of the year, we see the dollar kind of drop a little bit. That could cause our rally into the end of the year. Amazon hasn't moved yet. Yeah, it could be a little bit of a laggard compared to the other ones. It's not quite near its all-time highs. This could be the one that leads, rallies, especially into next month and next year. We could see a strong push into it, especially again, holidays are coming up. People are gonna spend money on Amazon. I have no doubts about that right there. AMSC. Man, it did not hold that range I drew initially. Basically, I just shift this down, probably expand it. So volume's starting to come in a little bit here. That's a good sign for it. I mean, I don't like that PE ratio. But if we see a rally into the end of the year, this should see some. Yeah, there's nothing on STAX right now for it, really. Yeah, not much going on STAX. Pull up your, check your open interest. See if they're still in this. This one's down pretty hard right now. Is it still possible to see 65? Ooh. They took this one before earnings. So it could have been an earnings play that really went awry, went wrong. If you still think it's gonna jump back up by January, I think that's tough to say. It really, I mean, it's got to more than double at this point for 65, if anything, right? So I saw something. TTD is now actually the worst performing stock for the year, and it has not found. I think it's starting to find its actual bottom, but I definitely thought it would rally earlier than that. SMCI. If this is where we're going to start, I mean, it is severely oversold for SMCI right now. Yeah, a lot of tech names took a dump, but this could be, if we see start to see a recovery, this could set up a spring action for us to head up higher. Volume needs to really start coming in for this one, though. Oh, wow. I didn't even see how Uber came down this hard. I would point out this. On my daily time frame, this is the spot where you probably want to get into Uber. You see these lower ranges where my indicator basically shows that it's going to have a strong reversal from where we're at. So I'd probably give it at least to 88 or so. I think we should see a reversal up to, dude. Like, look at this PE ratio. Uber at a 10 PE ratio. This is the time to buy Uber, if anything. If you can get into it now, this is a great spot for Uber. Let me real quick too. Let's just click over right now. Give me 1 sec. Let's check Uber real quick. WaveX doesn't look the greatest right now. Let's see how. Only one put came in today. I expect a bounce where we're at, though. It could drop a little. If you buy a little bit of time, if you buy for like mid next year, I think Uber will be higher than $80. How long ago was that? Let me pull up Webull. So let's see. Uber 929, they got in for January 125. Calls. Oh, those are down hard. Let's see. 6,000. Looks like they're still in this, but man, that's down. They got in at $1.80. Yeah, that's down like 90% right now. I'm curious to see if this was ever. Let's see this. Why can't I share that? Let's see. This is where they got in. Yeah. Yeah, it's down hard. I wouldn't necessarily say that they necessarily got out of it yet. Looks like it was up for a little bit, but not up a ton. $2.04, so up 24 cents each. Snap, let's check what we see for Snap, and nothing just yet for Snap in terms of flow. Nothing too determinate on our WaveX. If you're still in Snapchat for January and for June, I mean, those ones I'm still holding on to. So, let me show you Lyft, and then we'll jump into the charts. Nothing so far for Lyft. Put sold off. That's actually decent, but let's jump into the chart. So Snapchat's at a very critical point. It should start to see some, a bounce where we're at right now. It came down along with the markets, so nothing's really changed. I still see this headed up in time. So again, the fight for this one is making sure you have enough time to see this move up. Lyft. So it's at a good spot. We saw the run up. Nothing happened with that. Came right back down. We're still in this uptrend. Right. This wick down here tipped down over here, and it's starting to come back up. So we definitely want to see it hold 20, and hopefully it should be headed up from there. Yeah, my indicators show that we should have carved out and should be seeing a reversal to the upside on these. TTD. Check TTD. Yeah, another one. So if you take a look at, there's so many names that are severely oversold. My slow stochastic I like to use. And this is it considered not completely just yet, but we could start to see some divergence coming out from here. Yeah, that's not exactly divergence yet. Coming down lower, starting to come back up. Check, by the way, these TTD calls. Oh, that's a good sign. All these, all right, 10 million puts, and then all of a sudden sold completely off to the point where they're negative. That's a big swing. Now these are probably down hard too. Let's see. 27.65. They're down like 50% on that position so far, but they still have a lot of time. Let's see. Open interests. Yeah, they're probably still in that one. Tesla's doing decent where it's at right now. I think Tesla could hit what, 430 before it makes a decision. So here, let's make this. Oh. This could probably come back down before it heads up higher. Oof, look at that PE ratio, 264. That's ridiculous. 4 or 5% net margin. Let's see what STAX has to say. Oh, I hate having to switch things over. Discord used to make it so easy. I just click on the screen and it would switch it. All right. With calls, we got some unusual stuff coming in. Man, May of next year, 710. Big money on unusual prints are all bullish. Yeah, Tesla headed higher in this situation. Oh, I didn't post earnings stuff. Let me double check on that real quick. After hours today, got Zoom, and we got Alibaba. Let's take a look at that. I would go bearish on Zoom right now. See if there's a play we can take. So if we're looking bearish, I think we come down here before we bounce. Down to 74. There's a gap over here. I think it looks like it wants to fill. Yeah, we're stuck in this range. Daily, it does show it does want to bounce, though. I don't know. I don't think Zoom's innovating anything new. I use it all the time for like conference calls and stuff, meetings. Yeah, just like this says, Zoom earnings are here. Investors looking for more AI adoption. I agree with that. But like, what exact AI for Zoom that isn't already being done? Still this gap above too. I think what's more interesting is let's take a look over at Alibaba. That's going to have a little bit more juice to it. WaveX is definitely looking more bullish. And let me actually do this real quick. Let's just screenshot that into my chat. If you want an earnings gamble and you want to go bullish on Alibaba, this one's it. $1.17 million for the 170 call for this Friday. We got a lot of 160s. Yeah, guys, look at all that. This is all just today. Yeah. So this one, 1.17 mil for the 170 calls for Friday. IV's already at 76%, probably higher now. The 160 would definitely be the safer one. But it's got to go above 165. So my hunch with this is that it probably goes to like anywhere between 166 to 170. This needs it to be at 172. We'll see if Ivy crushes it or not. But there's a decent amount of people thinking that it's going up. Let's check out our chart. It's kind of just making this flag pattern. So, yeah, 170 is a good target. 170 is a good target for Alibaba. Kohl's, Best Buy, Burlington Coat Factory, Kohl's. Let's see. Here's an interesting one. Neo. While it could still come down toward about 520, that'd probably be the lower end I would draw. Oh, they're still negative. I swear I saw some news about this. Net loss expected to narrow on stronger revenue. So that's already baked in. Somebody playing both sides. Let's see. Above 6. There's small premiums though. Yeah, I'd definitely say Neo I would be more bullish than bearish on. I feel like the bad news is already baked into it. called the drop from where it was at, right? Weekly overbought, came down. Now it could go back up from here. I'd say daily definitely shows a good strong possibility of us going up. Abercrombie and Fitch. Oh, that's an ugly looking chart. Huh. I kind of want to say this looks like it's going down further. It's got that Peloton look to it. Netflix. Oh, I did not know Heidi Lau is a publicly traded company. Interesting. So Netflix had their split. It hasn't, I mean, my understanding of splits a lot of times is that splits are designed so that you can get more of the retail traders to be able to afford shares, right? Anytime you're doing something to get more retail traders in, tends to be a way to use them as liquidity. So I'm not surprised that after we see the split, had a little bit of a pump, but then it's come down pretty hard from there, right? It's now down 10% from that. I think we come back down to test 100 with Netflix, just looking off that chart. Oh shoot. I hate it when I do that. All right, real quick. What did I also do? Abercrombie and Fitch. The problem when they change things with how things work. Okay, so I was on this chart that didn't show you guys this. Abercrombie and Fitch, I think we're just right here. Right, we've seen this second little pump and came back down. This is where we're going to see that anger phase come back down, maybe go down lower. I think that's what's about to happen. It's looking very much like this range here. Had this come up, pump again, came further down. Netflix. Let's just adjust it. Well, kind of doing what I said after the split, came down, coming down. I still think it's coming down to 100. Flow right now shows nothing in particular to go off of. Yeah. Nothing really. I mean, this is a very short-term one from last week, thinking we can pump up to 108. But yeah, no earnings or anything coming up so far. We already had earnings. Earnings dropped it. So this one's obviously wrong at the top. Came down, came back up. Yeah, my next target for Netflix is 100. So I have to find a target. Simple. can't they give me a search function on this? Archery. Oh, there we go. There's the target. Yeah, my target is going to be 100. All right, 10 minutes till we close. Let me know if there's anything else. HDL, Heidi Lau. I very much enjoy my my hot pot meals. My parents think this restaurant is terrible. I mean, Netflix is such a big name. Yeah, I'll pump $2. Something come in about it. I mean, I would still short it from where it's at. I still think it's going to 100. We'll see if anything comes in. Let me finish this chart. Maybe if it's gonna break, it's got to break now. Otherwise, we see it just continuing to chop further down. Definitely not a name you necessarily need to be trading though. Better be profitable. Yeah. Last year's seasonality for this went up like crazy, but that's because their earnings last year were great. I don't know if that's going to be the same case. Gotta look further into it, see where a lot of their companies are, where they are. It's all over the world. Bitcoin gonna come back up and test 90. I think that's. We'll see if SPY ends up breaking 670. Oh, by the way, this just updated as I shared it with you earlier today where it was at 80. Now it's at 85. So increase us cutting these rates leads into the market pumping. That's all. That's what it came down to, right? Last week with the dropping, saw the markets tank along with it. So screenshot this for. By the way, check my channel, or if you want to look at the club profits. I just had a buddy show me he joined STAX back in August. Took that Google call out that we had, made, what was it? He started off, how many contracts was this? Uh, he put 150K in it, but he's up almost a mil on that position that we called out for STAX. What a trade. Closing. We'll watch Zoom earnings in a moment. It's the only thing really going on. Let's see what happens here. Zoom doesn't report for like, oh, it says 5 minutes. Not as bad. if you're going to add to current positions, make sure that you have some sort of additional analysis that adds into why you're adding to it, right? Again, it's helpful if it's gone down a certain percentage. But for example, if my indicators are showing that it's primed for reversal, if you start seeing on STAX or WaveX in particular that you have, people positioned in the right direction as well with it, those are all things that would, where you would want to add to those. Still nothing for Zoom. Let's see what reaction. This is not a good candle for Zoom if it's not going to hold that. Quarter three. It beat revenue. We'll see if it holds up here. I'll do Dell in a moment. Dell reports a little bit later. Dell reports on Wednesday, I believe. No, Tuesday, tomorrow after hours. Nothing on STAX right now for Dell. That's indeterminate. They're both underneath 0. Nothing in terms of recent. We do have some calls, some puts being sold. That's set up. It's already reversed a bit. This gap above is where I think we're headed. But if it rejects it, I would expect though that I would expect earnings to be pretty solid though. Like money's flowing in. It's my gap drawn wrong. The gap above and gap below. It's kind of filled this upper gap already though. So I would be more bullish than bearish on this one. Bounced here, bounced here, bounced here. Reversed, oversold on my daily conditions. Say back up to 130, maybe 135. But STAX doesn't really give me too much to work off of with the info right now. All right. Go back to Zoom, see how it reacted. Oh, it's up. Decent. 3%. Nothing huge, but it looks like they beat revenue. Beat EPS. There we go. Increased common stock repurchase authorization by $1 billion. Okay. So share buybacks. Share buybacks will always boost price up. Rate cut in the next Fed meeting. So I figure we're probably gonna chop around in this range for a little bit, the 665 to about 675 range for a bit until additional information comes in. But especially as we go into midterms, I would expect that the administration is going to do what they can to try to keep prices high and keep asset prices and keep the stock market moving up. They definitely don't want to see it crash right as they go into those midterms. All right. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. We'll see you guys in the next one. And keep that chat going on in the Discord, and we'll converse in there. Have a good one, guys. See ya.